Hello everyone, how's it going? I'm WoWcrendor and welcome back to another episode of Pointless Top 10, a show I make top 10 lists of pointless things. Why are we flying by this pointless statue in Booty Bay? Because inside pointless things are treasure. Let's begin. Number 10 is the Northfold Manor out in Athea Highlands, and I like this farm because it's got a windmill. You gotta have windmills. You got a bunch of cows just roaming around. I don't know what they're actually doing. They're not eating, they're just kind of walking back and forth. And then there's the Syndicate, the Highwaymen and the Mercenaries, who used to have a quest here, but now that quest is obsolete and you can no longer obtain or complete it. So I guess Blizzard compensated them with this barn and farm. So good for you, Syndicate, Highwaymen and Mercenaries. You're putting down your life of crime and you're going to a life of farming. Nice. Number 9 is the Jagged Swine Farm, which is a boar farm right outside of Orgrimmar. So many people have seen or walked by this farm many times, and it's not really sure who owns this farm because there's no farmer in sight. And I like to think that the boars actually own the farm. I like to think that this boar is just stockpiling food for his boar family. And then there's this boar who's just twerking. Number 8 is the Thunderfoot Farm over in Valley of the Four Winds, and it is a great farm. You got big watermelons, little watermelons, you got medium-sized turnips, you got big turnips, you got rice cookers, or noodles, or whatever he's cooking in there. You got Aang Thunderfoot, great chef, top of the line, and it is infested by marmots, but what are you gonna do? Number 7 is the Stonefield Farm over in Elwyn Forest, and they're a family that's mad that there's a prize-winning boar named Princess in their watermelon field, which I think the Stonefield family's stupid. I think this is a great boar. Look at that. They got a ribbon on to show that they're a prize-winning boar. They got little boars following them around. Great boar. Awesome boar. Let's get some more twerking boar in here. Number 6 is Garens Withering, which is an abandoned farmstead in the Western Plaguelands. There's a lot of hay bales, a lot of other stuff, but the main thing is there's the cauldron. There's the giant cauldron that's bubbling all these vapors into the air, whatever you want to call them, and it's guarded by the one and only Cauldron Lord Solwrath. And give it up for this guy. He lives for this cauldron. His job is to guard this cauldron. And, you know, when you get shots like this, you just see him in the cauldron, and you start to realize this is his life, man. Or his non-life, because he's not alive, but he's alive. I don't know. For number 5, we stay in the Western Plaguelands, but we get a change of scenery over at Dawson's Farm, where the Scourge have been pretty much pushed away, and they've been able to start growing things again. So it's nice to see some green, lively things in the Western Plaguelands, where they're growing apples, they're growing pumpkins, they're growing corn, they got hay stacks or barrels, and just very neat. I also really like this, I forget what you call them, but they got like all the ivy growing on it. I just think it's a cool building, and it's just a very nice farm, especially for a place that has so much death all around it. Number 4, the Molsondaeun farms of Westfall, and the Molson Farm is one of the farms of Westfall that has been taken over by the Defias Brotherhood, and now there's a bunch of Harvest Watchers running around going crazy now that the Defias have taken it over, as you can see here. However, some interesting stuff about the Saldean Farm. It is the only farm that has not been completely overran by the Defias Brotherhood, and Farmer Saldean and his wife have refused to leave. Also, this is where Vanessa Van Cleef grew up under the name Hope Saldean. The more you know. Number 3 is this random farm in the Borean Tundra, of all places, where it looks like a normal farm, and then you see all these people running out of a building, and you're like, oh my god, what's going on? And then you see that they're fighting zombies, or Scourge, but, I mean, same thing. Not really. Someone's gonna be like, that's not technically correct. So they're fighting all the Scourge, and my favorite part is this guy who's just guarding his bag of feed and, like, keg of beer, like, ain't nobody taking my feed and beer. No, they ain't. No, sir. Number 2 is the Heartland in the Valley of the Four Winds, and this could very easily be number 1. It's one of the biggest farms in the game. You got yellow cabbage, you got purple cabbage, you got watering systems, you got a water tower, you got bamboo growing, you got kites up in the air, you got green cabbage, you got turnips, you got pumpkins, you got crickets jumping around, you got a giant rat trying to steal your crops on a bridge. It's got all these things, but it's only number 2 because this is a pointless top 10. And it's pointless, except for this thing I found over here, which is this rat. He looks like he's having a great time, I think. I'm not sure, but we'll just leave him to whatever he's doing. And number 1 is the Tecton, the Robotic Sheep Farm, right near Stormwind. It's up in the hills to the east of Stormwind, I believe. And it's just a farm, and there's a robotic sheep there. And there's a guy sitting in the house who made the robotic sheep, and he's just staring at his fireplace like some sort of evil genius. And that's it. You might say, well, why is this number 1 then? Why is this random farm with a robotic sheep number 1? Because it explodes! How cool is that? That sheep doesn't seem to care. But then the gnome guy comes out and he's like, "What are you doing? You messed with my sheep and you exploded it. Now I gotta go build another one of those so stupid idiots." Blah 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 blah. I thought it was awesome. See ya. And I walked into a credit song of fire. But that doesn't make sense, so I'll just rhyme words with fire. Like retire, rewire, satire. Supplier, town crier. Transpire, umpire. Pacifier. Click the links.